I have given a name to my pain. The Batman.
Always waiting for some Batman to save you.
It's simple. We kill the Bat of Gotham. You don't really think you'll win, do you? I'm Batman.
Hey now, welcome to episode 7 of the Batman on Film blog. I am the host and also the founder, editor-in-chief of Batman on Film, Bill Jett Ramey. I am not solo today, as I was last time. Rick has resurfaced to the world of the living and is back with me today. Hey Rick, how's it going?
Good morning.
Is it?
It's a good morning.
Okay. All right.
It's a good morning.
How was your holiday? Christmas holiday specifically?
It was great. My uncles were in town, and we cooked for about 35 people on the 24th, and Santa Claus came for my daughters, and went to in-laws the day after and had prime rib, and it was pretty great. Went to 2 great new restaurants here in the Dallas area with my uncles that we had not been to yet. It was a lot of fun, man. How about you guys?
Yeah, it was fine. I mean, small, just us. So, but it was good. So, I mean, I've got like 3 holidays to celebrate this time of year. There's Christmas, then there's my anniversary, which is on the 30th, and then there's New Year's Eve. But I don't know if I've seen midnight come and go on New Year's Eve in several years. So, to be honest with you. Usually in bed by then. Okay, let's talk Batman on Film, the website, 2017, some of the highlights. We can talk about lowlights of things that were covered here and what we're looking forward to next year in 2018. So what and it may not just be Batman stuff, guys, because we do I mean, we covered Wonder Woman, we covered the anything that's DC on Film. We cover, I mean, since Rick joined up a couple years ago, we do Star Wars. Not regularly. We don't cover in detail every single event like I would do a Batman when I cover a Batman film, but we do the podcast stuff. Explain that. What's our coverage of Star Wars, Rick?
The things that are big events. Not every news that breaks that we'll cover, but we'll typically do a show to analyze a trailer, and then we'll certainly do a show to analyze a new film.
Yeah, that's it. And I like them. I've said it before. I'm not a Star Wars guy, but I love going to see Star Wars movies, and as a fan, I'd really enjoy listening to the podcast. That last one, if you haven't listened to it, y'all, it's excellent. The one on The Last Jedi. You need to check it out.
Yeah, and there's a variety of different opinions on that film, which is kind of the general consensus amongst fans anyway. Yeah. So fans are a little split on this particular chapter. And
any thoughts on that?
Listen,
what's your take on that?
I'll say this. Anybody, and Paul Herman said this best he was one of the guests on this Last Jedi show. Anybody that has critiques, that has criticism, as long as they're being honest, it's legit. That's it. Just be honest. But there is some like crazy fanboy madness of people that certain characters didn't unfold the way that they would have predicted when they wrote the movie in their head, and then that's not the movie that they got. And so when they start,
like what, Rick?
Kind of like The Dark Knight Rises.
Yes.
But when they start spamming the Rotten Tomato audience scores with half-star reviews, that's when they lose me. I'm like, this is an empirically good film. And there's some people that are saying, hey, as a standalone movie, this thing is obviously very well made. The acting's great, cinematography's great, all that's great. I just don't like what happened to the characters. 2 stars. You know what? That is more than fair. That's completely within their right to say that. The hundreds, if not literally thousands of half-star spam reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. Worst movie ever made. This is a piece of junk. That all that stuff. That's ridiculous because there are things that are a matter of opinion, and then there's things that are sort of like empirically. You can say The Last Jedi is a half-star film. Sure, I guess you can say that. You can say Batman and Robin is a better film than The Dark Knight if you so desire. But let's just face it, there are certain things that are just empirically better, right? They just are. And so that's what I think is a lot of what's going on with The Last Jedi right now. And also the fact that, there's just this big debate about Luke. And I personally love what they did with the character, that he's flawed. And,
I said that it was the story of Luke was the highlight for me in my review, which came out the Tuesday after I saw it at a press screening and before all of this bullshit went down. So it's not like I was, I'm trying to be, take the, the hip point of view or whatever it is. But I thought it was great. So, but needless to say, go ahead, Rick.
Well, no, and at the end of the movie, he sacrifices his earthly self to come back to be one with the Force, but to save the Resistance so that they can ultimately defeat the First Order. I mean, it's like the most Luke Skywalker thing he's ever done. And this whole notion that he went in to kill his nephew is not true. He went in and to see inside his nephew's head, and what he saw was pure evil and had a moment of weakness that he lived with regret with the rest of his life with. And some people have a problem with that. I'm like, he almost killed his dad in Return of the Jedi. He was banging his, his lightsaber, and then the fury in his face, that was foreshadowing Luke is still the son of a guy that stabbed to death 15 people over a floppy disk, that killed younglings when they were Jedis in training, that killed baby sand people. I mean, Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader is kind of an SOB. Yeah. And he still has that in him. And he was tempted by the dark side in Return of the Jedi. He was tempted a little bit in this film. The point is, Luke, even in his worst, weakest moments, he never crosses that line. And that's just Luke. And that's all he was in this film. But that's okay if it didn't work for you. But at the end of the day, here's the deal. It's projected to do 1.5, 1.6 billion. Okay, and that's more than Rogue One, less than The Force Awakens. That's exactly where Disney knew this would fall. They're not going to capture magic in a bottle and have these $2 billion juggernauts like The Force Awakens. That's kind of a once in a lifetime thing. But that's exactly where they wanted it. As an A rating on CinemaScore. Every other metric that's like scientific with audiences has it high. It is 93% fresh with critics, and that's real because those are real certified critics. Those aren't. I'm not saying that the audience score are bots. I'm saying they're trolls. There's a difference. Yeah, it's not a conspiracy. It's just a bunch of whiny fanboys. But you put all that in perspective. Like, this is a major hit. That's all there is to it. It's a major hit. And you can't have a major hit unless the audience is enjoying the movie, because a lot of that is repeat viewings and so forth. Thank you. And, when you start getting up to 800,000, 900, a billion, that's not new people going to see the movie, man. That's going to people seeing it 3, 4, or 5 times. Yeah, I said it. Very lot of parallels between this movie and the Dark Knight Rises, which is fascinating. Someone needs to do an article on that. Maybe me. Maybe Luke and you together. Luke would never do that. Yeah. Batman would never do that. Bruce Wayne would never retire. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Luke would never. So needless to say, as far as a highlight of 2017, The Force Awakens. I'm sorry, The Last Jedi is a highlight for you. It was for me. I did it as a fan, but you covered it basically for Batman on Film, so you would chalk it up as a highlight. A highlight. I'm seeing it again tonight with my nephew. Taking him to see it. So my fourth. I'm taking my son. Maybe today. I think today today we're going. Yeah, we're either going late tonight or early matinee tomorrow. Okay. I'm going to let him decide. But anyway, all right. Okay, all right. Moving on. All right. Let's see. Earlier in the year, because when I brought it up in our pre-conference, you said that was this year. Yeah, it was this year. The Lego Batman movie. My favorite Batman moment of the year. Period. End of story. It's a movie. I put it in. It's become a little bit of a Christmas tradition for me. I'll just throw in Batman films during Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, and play them over and over again. And when there's not football on that interests me, let's don't go there. And
So, but hey, threw it in. You know, that's a movie, Rick, that you can watch and still pick things up. There are so many little subtle things in that movie. It's brilliant. I love it. It's one of my favorite Batman movies of all time, and it was my Batman highlight of this year when it comes to, well, period. Comic books. I read the comics, movies, all that. It was my highlight of the year. About you?
No, I mean, I as well. I got this alarm clock for Christmas.
Show that again.
Yeah,
I got to look at it.
Yeah, it's an actual alarm clock.
Awesome.
It's pretty. Yeah. No, Batman. Lego Batman is flawless. My 6 and 3-year-old love it, and that's cool because there's a Batman movie I got to watch with them, and they just tickles them to death. They love all the stuff with the Joker and
that movie. It moved them, didn't it?
They love it. Oh yeah, the first time they saw it, I didn't know they wanted to watch it again because they were sad.
Yeah.
And he was looking at pictures of his family, which is interesting that an animated film, we'll call it an animated film, would touch upon the death aspect of Bruce Wayne's family.
Yeah.
You know, and that's not something that you see in most kid-friendly animation, certainly not in the TV show, but that they went there, which is part of the purpose of that story, is his arc with his loss and getting his new family, and they love it. And that's the lesson that I taught my kids with this is, this has a happy ending. That is sad, but he gets a new family in the end, and so therefore it sort of retroactively takes away from the fear of it all. And it's hilarious. It's funny. It's a love letter to fans.
Oh, yes.
The thing I like about it the most is that you don't even necessarily have to get everything in its true context. A good example of something is when he's watching Jerry Maguire, and that you complete me, and he starts laughing. Well, you could just look at that and say he laughs at stuff that's supposed to be serious because he's kind of an ass, and that's funny, and it is. Yeah. But that's also a reference to The Dark Knight when the Joker says that to him, and when they're in the interrogation scene. And so the way I look at that scene is that he gets what the Joker was saying to him that day. Yeah. That's why he's laughing.
Yeah.
But it could go either way.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And that's what's brilliant about it.
It's a love letter to Batman. It covers everything Batman. I mean, like I said, it is so subtle that there's things I pick up every time I watch it. Props.
Hey,
yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, bro. Props to Chris McKay.
Yeah.
And that guy's great. I put a video up of my girls watching it, and he retweeted it, which was fun.
Yeah.
But my girl's favorite scene is when Superman comes on the screen when Batman's in the limo, and he's like,
Yeah. That is. Yeah. Come at me, bro. With the first one. Yeah, Superman. Come at me, bro.
It's just great.
House that Batman built. Yeah. All right. Lego Batman, awesome. Another highlight, not Batman, but DC. I love this movie, Wonder Woman.
Mm-hmm.
It was awesome, wasn't it? We had our watch party in Plano, and great turnout. That was a hell of a time. Hell of a time all the way around, huh?
That was such a highlight for me on a lot of levels because I've become so close to Justin and Ryan. I just look at those guys like family. I mean, I talk to those guys. Hell, I talk to Ryan on the phone even more than I do Justin, and no, not for any other reason than the fact that Ryan works from home. It's just easier to get a hold of him sometimes. But I just love those guys to death, and I've never even met Ryan yet, but I had an opportunity to meet Justin. He was a guest in my home. He was supposed to stay here 3 nights. He only stayed 2 because he had one hell of a time getting here because of the storm.
Yeah, we've told that story.
Right. He had to spend the night in San Antonio. But meeting him and then meeting Peter, Eric Holzman, the guys that came in from New York that were just fans of us. Of course, Peter's a contributor. That was just a joyful event, and we did the watch party here in Dallas, technically in Plano. I'm pointing because it's the theater's right over here by my house, but it was awesome. And then the movie's great, and it's the one DCEU film. Well, it's not just the one, but all the DCEU drama and mess that we've covered, and the mixed bag we have on BVS that I like a little better than you, but it's still not what it should have been. Justice League is whatever, but but DC, but Wonder Woman and Man of Steel, at least we got those 2 gems out of all that, and that Wonder Woman's it's fantastic.
Yes,
and
it is.
I'm excited for the sequel.
It's the best. You know, I don't want to use that phrase DCEU since we found out it was bogus, but it's the best. I call it Ladkoff live action DC on film. What's the continuity word? The Man of Steel on unified DC on film, whatever universe. It's the best, and that's someone who does like Man of Steel and defends Man of Steel anytime it's needed. It's by far the best DC film we've had, and if you want to throw the whole thing in, it's the best DC film since The Dark Knight Rises. So
yes,
it's good. More of that, please, going forward.
Yes,
and less of the other.
Yes,
in every way. I'm meaning in every possible way. I'm talking, make these films singular, solo. Don't worry about the continuity. Don't worry about advertising for another film. Even though there's a little, I mean, how much, Rick? A little bit.
Not even 5 minutes of screen
at the
time.
beginning and end, you could go into Wonder Woman and did not see Man of Steel or Batman v Superman, and not even have a clue that there's a Justice League film coming, and still enjoy Wonder Woman, because those two bookend scenes don't really factor into they don't factor into the whole the story of Wonder Woman's origin, which is what it was. It was a Wonder Woman origin story.
Couldn't agree more.
Yeah, and I think that's what we've been getting with Aquaman, and we'll talk about that in a second. All right, the elephant in the room. This was in 2017. We covered it. It exhausted me to cover this film. I was glad when it was over with. Justice League. We give every final thought there is, but any final thoughts, Rick, on Justice League, or is it just is what it is, man?
I'll just say this: when we started reporting about this film early in the year, and you can go back to any podcast, you can go look at old tweets, you can go look at old op-eds, and we said that this is back in February, somewhere in that ballpark, that Joss was on set and was knee-deep in this thing. The tragedy struck in March, all that stuff. Zach eventually just left. And we still try to tell everybody, this is becoming a hybrid film, and you don't just change the composer.
Yeah.
If you're not going to fundamentally change the film. And then the film comes out, and a lot of people that were saying that we were full of it, and we didn't know what we were talking about. This was just Joss coming in to finish out Zach's vision. We're like, well, wait till you guys see the movie. I'm telling you, that's not what it is. And when the film came out, that's what they saw. The film is it's a mess, and it's a mess of a film, and it's a hybrid film of two directors, and it just doesn't work on multitude of levels, and that's unfortunate. But you know what? We covered it. We were honest about it. We about 98% of what we said was accurate, and every 100% of what we said we thought was accurate. A couple little minor things we weren't quite right about, but for the most part, we were right about everything. And that's a damn good track record, because when you're covering stuff and you're getting information from sources and everything, sometimes some things will fall through the cracks a little bit. But I'm going to stand by 99% of what we said was exactly what happened. Yeah. And that's better than...
It falls on you. It falls on you by being part of this site, being part of Batman on Film. And it's, it filtered through me. To be fair, it was May when I started reporting about Joss's significant involvement, and that came with the reshoots. We knew Joss was on. I said before that Joss's whenever that was announced, it was about late February, March, somewhere in that time. It was, they brought him on. It was more than just to finish Zach's vision.
You're right.
Yeah.
It was May when we went public. It's February when we were having our internal talks about it.
Got that information. I got the information in May, and went with it about the reshoots being significant. And Batman on Film was ridiculed. And anyway, I'm not going to rehash that. But it's just, it is funny that now there's petitions for the Zack Snyder cut. Hey, I thought we were getting the Zack Snyder cut, Rick. Wasn't that what we saw in the theater? Wasn't it? Because
So
we're just finishing Zach's vision, right?
When we told you guys in May that he's been involved since basically February, just maybe next time just listen to us. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Look, the film has come and gone, and it's underperformed. It's kind of a mess, but you know what? That's okay. There's some people that like it. I think it's an okay film. I won't buy it on Blu-ray or anything like that. I don't really have any interest in seeing it again. But you know, if I channel surf one day, it's on cable. I'll watch it. But I'm ready to move on from that.
Well, I took my youngest son last week, and he was on it and said, you know, Batman was dumb. I didn't even. He just, you know, what do you think? It was all right. Yeah, Batman was dumb in it. You know, this is a kid who grew up on the Dark Knight trilogy, and you know, don't get me started, but you know what I mean.
Sure.
I'll have to see it again for the. I'll get a Blu-ray.
I'll just say
to review and. Yeah.
Thank God we got Lego Batman this year. How's that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yes. Low light.
All right, but let's talk about one very positive thing about Justice League was our watch party in Austin.
Yes.
Man, what a freaking turnout that was.
Yeah, that was great.
I couldn't have asked for anything cooler than that, man. That was so special.
Yeah.
And our boy Ed was there.
Yes. Who is great Patreon and patron via Patreon of Batman on Film. Golly, I'm gonna miss people, but everybody who was there. Appreciate it. Jorgen was there from Minnesota.
Mm-hmm.
My friend Jim, who lives in Round Rock, I believe, or outside of Austin. I think it's Round Rock. He came in, and he's a very distinguished gentleman. I'll put it that way, and is a fan of Batman on Film. It was, you know, great. If you were there, we appreciate it. We're going to go back to Austin at some point. I promise. Yeah. We're going to come back to Austin.
Yeah, that was a popular spot for a watch party. People love coming. You say Plano, Texas, like a suburb of Dallas. You say Austin, Texas, like let's party. You know. Yeah. So. Yeah.
Matthew from LA came out there.
There was a couple, and I'm going blank on his name right now. I'm so sorry. Really cool couple. They came in from San Antonio.
Yes.
Just such good people. It was just awesome.
You were there again. It was awesome. We had a good time. Went down Rainey Street in Austin. I'm gonna say this again. If you've not been to Austin, that's one city in the United States that you need to visit. It's one of the top cities in the U.S. Don't you think, Rick? Just to go visit. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, of course it is.
Absolutely. And we're not getting paid by the Austin Chamber of Commerce to pimp Austin. I'm just telling you the truth about that city because I'm gonna be moving there in about 2 years when my boy graduates high school. And I am
Chicago, New York, and Austin are my top 3 cities.
Yeah. Hey, I'm with you. I'm with you there. All right. I'll throw out just a few things. Nothing animated as far as TV this year. We're overdue for a Batman animated TV series again. Rick, would you be on board with that? I miss having an animated Batman TV series. Look, we're not fans of Gotham, but it was. Well, yeah, I haven't watched Gotham in a year, but it's there.
It's there if you want
to. If you're a fan,
that.
You know, some people love it. If you know, it may be a highlight for you. I don't get even covered on Batman on Film. I've tried.
It's not even on my radar.
I tried to cover it when it came out. I honestly could not get anybody to want to stick with it and watch it enough to review the episode. So I just finally said to hell with it. Let's see. We are missing. There was Batman versus Two-Face animated film. Did you catch that, Rick? Have you caught that yet or not?
No, okay. Actually I haven't. I love the first film.
Okay, yeah, that was out. We did a podcast on that, so it was okay. It was not the first one was better. The first one was way better. This one was okay to good. You know, comic book wise, lots of good. Tom King's run in Batman is it's fantastic. Batman White Knight has started, which is a mini-series, maxi-series. I don't know how many. I think there's 7-8 issues. That thing is fantastic. Rick, here's the premise. I need to send it to you. Is that the Joker is rehabilitated, and he points the finger at Batman and says it's not the Joker that's caused all the chaos in Gotham, it's Batman. And slowly the whole city starts to turn on Batman and the Joker, Jack Napier. They go, a nod to Batman 89, who's no longer the Joker and not wearing makeup, which would be a nod to the Heath Ledger version of the Joker, is ascending to leadership in Gotham. while everyone turns on Batman. Fantastic.
I need to get I need to get in the middle of that.
I got them. I'll send them to you, man.
Yeah, do that. I actually picked up a stack of comics. I'm just some things I'm getting caught up on Batman and just comics myself. But the White Knight stuff, I need to get knee deep in that.
Yeah.
We need to do a podcast.
Yeah, Dark Knight 3 ended earlier in the year. I love that run. But yeah, just monthly wise, Tom King stuff in Batman is fantastic. And of course, if you didn't know it now, Batman and Catwoman, Bruce Wayne, Selina Kyle are engaged to be married. And
yeah, there's a certain site that leaked that before it was out. No comment.
Okay. So, anything else? Anything else from 2017, Rick? Highlights?
Let's try to think of anything,
or anything
Batman
to mention, or anything we covered, anything that happened here, anything involving the site, people, anything. Events.
I mean, there was just all the watch party stuff and meeting certain people in person was the highlight for me.
Yeah, we had 3 watch parties. We had
especially Justin and Eric. And
Lego Batman
Peter
here in Houston, Tomball. We had Wonder Woman in Plano/Dallas, and we had Justice League in Austin. And they all 3 were great. The Austin one was the highlight. Yes, I would say.
Yeah, it was really cool. We were in that theater and outside of Houston, and my cousin and her family just were in the same screening as us.
Yeah,
that was wild.
Yeah,
she's like, "What are you? Why are you here? What are you doing here?"
That was cool.
I was like, "What are you doing here?"
All right.
That was cool.
All right, so okay, and just thanks to everyone who follows Batman on Film, reads Batman on Film. A lot of you folks have been with me since the beginning. We're going 20 years now. I appreciate it. Thanks to Justin and Ryan. Thanks to John Beerley. Trying to hit everybody. Peter Vera, Ron Lauer, who all contribute. Robert Reinecke will contribute from time to time. He's working on a history of Batman, a audio history. We're going to have that on Batman on Film at some point. Everyone who contributes, everybody who's contributed in the past, thanks to them too, because Batman on Film, part of next year, let's talk about that. And I have a itchy trigger finger, Rick. I'm ready to just push that button because Batman on Film 2.0 is ready to go. It's ready to go. So it might, never know. Keep looking, keep clicking, because it may show up before the 31st. How about you, Rick? Anything in that manner you want to say?
No, I'll just say next year is going to be. It could be a little bit of a slow news year in terms of Batman stuff. Then again,
it should be. I mean,
then again, maybe it's not. Maybe in March, February, we start hearing about the Matt Reeves project and the let's end the drama of the Ben Affleck thing once and for all, and who's going to be the new Batman
that stuff, get past the Affleck thing, but get that Matt Reeves film rolling. And I'm not, hey, he can take all the time he wants. You and I are both on the same page. Is that, hey, if it's 5 years, it's 5 years. Whatever, there may need to be a little breathing room between this Ben Affleck version, this Justice League BBS version of Batman, and something new. But let this dude take his time. I'm excited to cover a new solo Batman film for the first time, dude, in 6 years. It's gonna be 6 years since Dark Knight Rises next year, so that may or may not happen. I suspect we'll hear some stuff this year, but who knows.
But we'll have Aquaman. We'll have a lot of stuff.
That's happening for sure. That's in the can. We'll definitely cover Aquaman. Wonder Woman 2 will probably start filming at some point this year. So all that stuff, we'll continue with the comics. We'll continue with these vlogs.
Justin and Ryan launched the commentaries. We'll continue with those.
Yeah,
they'll do they'll do things on merchandise. They have the cool podcasts on the toys. I'll run with some of the satellite shows. Han Solo's going to be out in May. I guess they're still going to release that in May.
Yeah.
That's kind of a weird deal. So we'll see how that plays out. I'm nervous about that film. I'm excited because I have goodwill from Disney because I love all 3 of the films they've done so far. But I'm nervous about the film. I don't know if I care to see it.
Well, I will say there is one Batman movie coming out next year. Well, 2 actually. I'm both excited for. One is you'll laugh, Rick. Scooby-Doo. Scooby-Doo and Batman the Brave and the Bold. I love Batman the Brave and Bold. If you didn't know, it's my favorite Batman animated series. I like it better than I hate saying it that way. I like it better. it's my favorite. I love
Okay.
that Batman the Animated Series.
Right.
But Batman Brave and the Bold, it's like Lego Batman in a lot of ways, that it's a love letter to Batman, and I love it. And so he's Dietrich Bader's coming back to voice Batman, and I know it's with Scooby-Doo, but that brings me back to my childhood. So that's another outlet for your kids, Rick, to become Batman fans. I mean, that kind of movie right there. And then there's going totally the other extreme, another animated film. There's Gotham by Gaslight, which is R-rated, and I have been saying for years, it was the first Elseworlds story. Mm-hmm. I've been saying for years, I want them to adapt that as an animated film. And James Tucker, who is one of the producers in all those things, you know, I've had an exchange with him on Twitter before, and in person I met him when I was covering Year One out at San Diego Comic-Con. He said that was on his list. That was a priority on his list to get that done. He was banging the drum to get them to do it. It's happening. I can't wait for that film. That's coming out early next year. And so, you know, we'll be covering everything Batman, Aquaman, all that stuff going forward. And I'm very excited for Batman on Film 2.0 and kind of getting started with moving into the third decade, Rick, of Batman on film. Third decade. 20 years of Batman on film. Wow. Okay. How'd that happen? How did all of a sudden 20 years go by? It's just, how's my kid 6'2" and 235 pounds all of a sudden? So
I know.
That's life. That's life. All right, Rick, plugs.
Twitter, ShewRick, ShewWrick. Go to check out the new Last Jedi podcast with Paul Herman and Justin Kowalski, my buddy Brian Chatlin, and myself. It's a very fair analysis with a wide variety of different opinions, and it's a really good episode. And I make a little blunder at the beginning, and Bill turns that into the intro. It's pretty funny. So,
you know, you laughed at that.
I text Justin. I said, "What podcast are we on?" He sent me 103. I'm sorry.
Don't give away the magic.
Okay. Okay. Just listen to it. Just listen.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. You're right.
Yes.
You're right. Just listen to it. It's funny, and it's a good show.
It is a good show. It's a great show. I called you and I said, "Dude, that's a great show." I was proud of you. So
you're a great show. And if you're into politics, go to my YouTube channel on Left Shoe Politics, and please subscribe to the YouTube channel. In fact, even better, also subscribe to this YouTube channel that's right here.
Somewhere over there.
Somewhere over here. I'll get it down eventually. Somewhere like right there, I think. So yeah, do that for us, please.
Yeah, please. All right, follow me on Twitter at Batman on Film. Of course, follow me on Batman on Film proper. I'm really going to be. I'm like in 1998, 99, 2000 mode as far as banging the drum for Batman on film, literally Batman on film. There needs to be a change for the positive. We need to get excited for Batman again. I think there's a little, that's a little burnout with this version and of late, and I want to get excited. I want to get excited for the whole thing, and yeah, it's just funny. It's 20 years later from when I started Batman on film, and we're almost in very similar situations as far as the future. So with that said, Happy New Year, everyone. Batman on Film 2.0 coming, and Batman on Film, authoritative, definitive,
and the dadgum original.
We'll catch you next time.
See you later.